huge result for Crystal Palace and what has been a resurgence for them in the past couple of weeks. Big damper for Manchester United. Coach, United are suffering from inconsistency. Win one game, next game lose, draw next game, lose next game. What's going on?
It will be like that to the end of the season. Because if you listen to the manager, he said, look, since the day they beat Everton 4-0, that was when he sounded out the caution. The one that, look, it is going to get even more difficult. Nobody should glory over that 4-0 defeat. And true to his words, he knows the players he's got, about 70% of them are not used to this system. And like I have said here and on other platforms, I've said that he shouldn't bend because of them. This is who he is.
Yeah.
He told the handlers or the owners of the club that I'm coming in there on one condition, that I play my system. And at the end of the day, anybody who cannot fit into that system,
must go.
You have to ship the person out. And he's got the backing. So stick to that. Keep doing that. But again, tactically, Crystal Palace were not overly better. If you watch the game, they played to their strength. What was their strength? They made it a physical game, and they ensured that make sure we get into the faces of the United players. My big worry about this team is the fact that creativity only seems to come from the flanks.
United?
Yes. Creativity in terms of getting the player on the ball, he believing that he can dance around one or two players and then create for others. It's only coming from Ahmad and Garnacho. And what Crystal Palace did today, they also came with the back three transition to a back five. What that system does is that if the opponent stretches you guys, you have enough men, whoever goes, there's a proper defensive line cover. And if you watch the game, you realize that when Ahmad picked up the ball, he didn't have one person to deal with. So he was most often going and checking back. Because he could see that, look, if I go past, there's
like
another,
bodies.
So let me come back. Now, when he comes back, the creativity needed to go through the middle. But we all know who Bruno Fernandes is. He's not the flamboyant type. He's the receive pass,
one-touch pass
and
guy.
then see the pass. But there are times, if you are playing against such a team and you want to break them down, you need a dancing player, a player who is capable of dancing. Those days, like who? Eden Hazard. You remember when Chelsea had Hazard, he could pick the ball from the flank, bring the ball into the middle, and then dance. Hazard, during his days as a winger, he was not taking on the fullbacks on the bar line. He was cutting in and going through the middle. Man United lacked that sort of player. So any team that sit back, very compact, United struggled to break them down. On the two goals that they conceded, I think the first goal, you want to question the position of Andre Onana, and you want to question Lenny Yoro. I think he was easily beaten in the air. Yes, he's a young lad, 18-year-old. But if you look at his height,
big guy,
he should not be losing that header. And why was Onana positioned where it was? If he was properly positioned in the goal, that's a catching practice. That's a catch. He needs no backpedal. He just jumped, and then with his two hands, he's in total control. His position was wrong. So when the ball hit the back, and again, Harry Maguire. Look, when the contract of Maguire was triggered, that extension was given to him. I have said that United did that on purpose. I don't think there's a future in there. If United really wanted Maguire to stay, they would have given him a 2-3 year contract. Or
they triggered it to keep him, get some transfer value.
They triggered it to keep him during the summer window. Whoever shows them 20 million, they will let go. Because again, Ruben Amorim wants to play a high line. But because Maguire is terribly slow, if you look at that second goal again, when Sarr picked up the ball, Yenny Yoro was in front of Maguire. He was his back. Both Delete and Yoro were all in front of Maguire. Maguire virtually played the one who received the ball on. And shocking, he stepped out at the wrong time. You know you are slow. And you could clearly see that the man was not in an offside. Why step out? Why don't you rather go and do the tackling? Because he did this and the pass went and he played the player on. There's no recovery. We saw Fulham do the same thing when he played them on. His recovery is that bad. And I don't know why Amorim keep picking him. But I am told, if you listen to Amorim too, he said that delete Mazwari, you cannot have them play every game after game after game. Because tiredness, injury, today, on a very sad note, I don't know what the latest is on Lisandro Martinez.
It didn't look good.
It didn't look good. You could clearly, when he was being carried,
it looked like he was crying.
Because
he just come back from a long-term injury.
And this time around, the first one was his Mateta. This time it's looking like
a knee injury.
A knee injury.
Oh my God.
I pray it's not an ACL. Because if it's an ACL, then he's not going to be the same player again. That is another department that will have to look at. But look, if he doesn't come back, because he's one of the best defenders in the team, if this were to rule him out for the rest of the season, then the idea of going to buy Dogo, to have Lisandro and Dogo in front of him as the wing back, has been completely thrown into the tatters.
Just thoughts on that, and then talk a little bit about Crystal Palace for me. They started out slow. Looks like they are picking up wins. They are getting draws. Season is picking up nicely for them.
No, Glasner, we know he's a good coach. We saw him at Eintracht Frankfurt. He won the Europa League. If you remember, they had that famous game against Barca where they went and beat them at the Camp Nou and all of that. Or there was some, I can't quite remember, but
they knocked Barca out.
They knocked Barca out, just generally speaking. So he's an interesting coach. And it's been mentioned that he likes to experiment in the first half of the season. In the second half of the season, he knows what
works for his
what
team.
works, what doesn't work. So the team looks better in the second half of the season. So that's what they had all been saying. Look, we'll get better. And they are getting better. Luckily for them, there's no immediate threat of relegation. There's no pressure. Mateta has now started scoring. I think he has 6 and 5 or something. His form has picked up. This is the form we saw. The
form we saw at the Olympics.
At the end of the last season, which even got him into the Olympic team. Because if you think about it, Mateta was probably not going to the Olympics until the last few months of the season when he just kept scoring. So he went as an overage player. I think they won was their bronze medal, silver.
As they were in the final.
Yes, so
with Spain.
Exactly. So I think he's showing that form again, and he's probably thinking, maybe I can get into the France team because Giroud has retired. So there's a hole at the front. Thuram is there. Kolomwani is there. He's competing with this.
I think there's a spot there for him.
Yeah,
there definitely is.
Yeah, if he keeps
scoring,
he can push his way in for sure. Because Kolomwani has scored 2 goals for Juventus today, I believe. Thuram didn't score for Inter today, but these are good strikers. And if he keeps scoring, he can compete with them. But speaking of Manchester United, I actually disagree a bit with Coach on Amorim's selections. In the sense that I understand you want to do your system and it's important to you to build your system. But if the players are not suited for it and you're losing this many matches, how worth it is it?
Let me just check that. You see, if these players had not compelled previous managers to bend, to suit them, I would have been the first person to ask him to bend. But when they compel Ten Hag to bend, when they compel Ralf Rangnick to bend, just to suit them, the next season, they were throwing those managers under the bus. So rather, he should stick to what he knows. United is not going to get relegated. Put that aside. They're not going to win the league. Use the current situation to expose them that they are not good enough for what you want to do as a manager. Because at the end of the day, it is the same system that this manager will come back to next season. If they had a chance of winning the league, or they were battling relegation, then you say, okay, because of this or because of that, let's bend. But rather, you are not in danger. Stick to what you know, and let's see those who can fit in, because in the long run, that is what it's going to be. It is going to be like that. So stick to that. Anybody who cannot fit, you ship the person and then give him the tools to get them to play in the system. Because look, Pep buys the sort of players he buys because that is the way he wants to play. You go to Arsenal, Mateta buys the sort of players he buys because that is the way he wants to play. So I agree with you. I would have
ideally made adjustments.
But that is the system he will play from next season. So you rather use them to see those who will fit in the long term and get rid of those who will not fit in the long term.
But coach, they are still in the FA Cup. They are still in the Europa League. Do you think they can win them if they are playing
you see, when I listen to him speak, they tend to do better in the Europa League because he says in the Europa League the tempo is a bit slower than in the Premier League. But this is a system that requires fast thinking.
Yeah.
In the Europa League, they're able to think because the pressure on them is not that intense like they have in the Premier League. So they are able to control games better. But even that, they are not getting to the business end. If this United team don't win anything this season, anybody who supports United should be happy. Rather, don't win anything with them. Expose them. Those who cannot fit in the system, get rid of them. And bring the ones who will fit. Because it's a long-term project. Unless the owners, those who brought Amorim, don't see him as the long-term manager for this. But if you are thinking along that tangent, there's nothing to lose by insisting they play the way they have to play. But there's everything to gain after this season. So that's the point I'm making.
That's fair, but my issue is that I feel like even though you have made a point, if you are losing so many games, they might start second guessing themselves.
They've not been consistent.
There's no.
No,
I
these
don't
guys,
but coach,
even when managers had to bend for their sake.
no, coach, don't get me wrong.
No, but what he's saying is that the more you keep losing games, the more your confidence dips.
And there's no way the board won't second guess.
Let it dip.
Won't second guess themselves if they are losing this.
No,
that's the way I see
they
it.
They can't, because he told them that these are not the players for the system. You see, he wanted, if you listen to the man, he said, I want to come in next summer.
Yeah.
And he was told, it's either now or never. So come, whatever you want to do, come and do it. We support you. So there's a common ground.
Fair.
And nobody should bend.
All I'm going to say is 13 games in the league is a long time to be losing matches.
And he's lost 5 home games already.
Look, Ten Hag last season lost more than 5 home games.
But it took Ten Hag about 40. It took Ten Hag about. It took Ten Hag until his second season to lose 5 home games in the Premier League.
Is it, at the end of the day, Ruben Amorim cannot come in there with a system he says he's going to play and get these inconsistent guys to play the way he wants to play.
Fair. Let me read a few messages before we take our second break. So this one here says that good evening once again, guys. Nanam Ponta from Dunkwanofin. It is, in fact, I share coaches' mood because some of my clubs like Arsenal, Barca, and Milan gave me joy, but Kotoko and the Pole case has erased all of that joy. It's so sad and unfortunate this will happen because the police personnel in these towns don't care about what happens to strangers who go to these communities. Interesting. It's a shame. This one also says it's a shame this just happens in modern day football. Rest in peace, Nana Pole. This one says that going to watch a dead league and losing your life, this is not good. This is unfortunate. Anyway, this one says Ghana Premier League is a shame. I have to stop watching them. This is sad. May his soul rest in peace. Opanka from Fumbisi with that one. Palmer from Medina says we still fight and kill each other in our league. This is very sad.
Of football.
Daniel Turkson from Cape Coast says the EPL title will definitely go down to the wire. A statement win from Arsenal. Madrid have a lot of work to do. Richmond from Ashaiman says, good evening, guys. How ironic that coach was calling Chelsea iPhone 12 Pro Max if they win, draw, or lose. Same position. 1 year later, the roles have changed. Karma does exist. Richmond.
you know, we got a text message like this also on radio. It looks like the iPhone.
It hurts people. The comment hurts a lot of people. So yeah, they're out for blood. Anyway, Kwame from Jolu says, my Man United will rise again. This one says, good evening. My name is Cole God Palmer from PNT Last Stop. Interesting. He says, please, what is United's song again? Glory, glory, Man United. But it is now fallen, fallen, Man United. Coach, please, can you give us your Apeke dance again? By the way, good work from Arsenal for teaching Man City how to use or how to score goals against the big guys. Okay. More messages. This one says that football is unpredictable. We United fans will put this defeat behind us and look forward. We still believe in Amorim, United forever. Fred from Sunyani says, in fact, Man United's management are not serious. They are just playing with our hearts. Do they actually see what the supporters are going through? Our strikers are lazy and can't score, and we are not seeing any new signing. Meaning, meanwhile the transfer window is closing tomorrow. Or Patrick Dogu has arrived. I think that's been done, medical done, and all of that. So that's something for you to actually enjoy. Let's take a break here on the show. When we come back, we'll get to that Arsenal-Manchester City game. We have another tactical breakdown for you. Stay with us here on Scorecard.